So I started building my pond in May 2019. My old pond was starting to fall apart. Maybe it was like 20 odd years old, which was this one. Quite a nice looking horseshoe pond. But it was, all the bricks were falling apart. The filter system was one of the very small sealed filter units. This wasn't doing very good at all, so it needed upgrading, so I decided to build this pond. So in this video I'm going to go through some of the mistakes I made, or some of the issues that I could have done better, or I would change if I did it again, so that anybody out there building a pond can learn from my mistakes so that you don't make them as well. Now, a lot of these I've found since I've opened the pond, so they weren't mistakes I made as I was building the pond. They were things that I've found, or little bits and pieces that I found since making the pond and operating it from there. So if I made another pond, I would do differently. So let's crack on. Water connection and hosepipe feed. This has been a massive one for me. When I built this pond, I forgot to put some way of having a continual water supply or feed from my tap to my filter system or to my pond. And what a pain in the backside that's been. Every time I need some water, I have to get the hose pipe out, plug it into the wall by the back kitchen, untangle all the mess that it's made while it's been away in the shed, and then unravel it, trail it across the garden and into the pond itself, or into the filter system. So if I was doing it next time, I would build in a water supply. So I'd make sure that I've got water at the filters and also at the other end of the pond. So if I'm doing top-ups or I'm doing whatever I need to do, I've got water instead of faffing around with a hose pipe. Building in a skimmer. Now this was something that I did put a lot of thought into, but then as I looked around the pond, and I've got no trees or anything that's going to be dropping sapling or leaves or whatever from above into the pond. I ain't got none of that, and I wasn't prepared to build a pergola or whatever you call them, those structures that go above the pond, because that's the wasn't design I wanted. So didn't go with a skimmer. Now mistake. What I found is that your pond does get lots of stuff on it, like dust and pollen and things that land on your pond, and then they sit there and you get like a film, where I was just getting stuff that was landing and making the surface look rubbish. So I ended up buying a plug-in skimmer, an Oasi whatever it was skimmer, that I still use to this day, and I would not work the pond without it. Fantastic tool. When I first introduced a skimmer, what a pain in the backside it was. I'll post a video at the end of some of the issues I went through when I was putting this skimmer in, because they do things like they float out of the water, they bob, they wander around your pond when you don't want them to. So there was a number of different issues I had. But yeah, I wouldn't live without that skimmer anymore. Cracking tool that just takes off that shimmer, or takes off whatever's lands on your pond. But if you had a pond with loads of trees above you, put a skimmer in, because otherwise you're going to have a nightmare with leaves and stuff falling in your pond, rotting away and having to dig them off the bottom. Windows. Now I've mentioned this in the past about putting windows in. I did actually put a lot of thought into putting this window in, because my seating area was going to be facing the window. And then at the 11th hour, as the pond was been finished, wife decided, no, I'll tell you what, we'll put the seating area in a different place, so can't see your fish. So now I have to sit here to look at the fish instead of over on the other side, where I want to see the fish. Now if you're going to go with a window, go big or go home, because these things are like buying TVs. You get your flat plasma LED, whatever you call them nowadays, TV. You buy a 50-inch, you put it on your wall. 6 months later you look at your TV and you look at your 50-inch and go, that's not big enough, I should have gone for 60. And that's what these things are like. You can never get a window big enough. Obviously it depends on what your budget is, but get to the maximum window you can put in, because you won't regret it. Big windows in the right place is definitely the way forward. The filter system. Now this was another one that I did put a lot of thought into, but since then come up with other things that I thought, wow, if I did it again, this is what I would do different. So your filter system and where it goes is, in my opinion, as important of where your pond's going to go, because I personally don't like to see the filter system when you're looking at the pond. I like to see the filter system away somewhere, to one side and out the road. Be it hidden, in a shed, in a box, wherever it may be. But with my filter system, I only boxed mine in. And what I should have done was to build a decent housing around it. Because in the bad weather, I have to come out here in the rain or in the snow, as we've had recently, to get some jobs done. So pain in the backside, that is. So if I was doing it again, the filter system I've got, I'm dead happy with. I would use that again, or other systems, you know, there's loads out there to use, but I would use my Multibay again. But I would put it into a decent enclosure, into a decent box. There's loads of other channels out there. If you look, for example, Phil at Telford Coy, he's got a fantastic filter housing, which is like, it's like a man cave. Very impressive. So I would do something like that, so I can store all my medications and my tools and my spare parts, because at the moment they're all in the garage. So I've got nothing really here apart from a small shelf just to one side of where the filters are to be able to house things. So yeah, that's what I would build, something like put it in a shed or put it in a bigger housing somewhere with enough window and some heat and some light. Anyways, that's what I'd do. Dimensions of the pond. Now, this is an interesting one. When I first put this down, I sprayed a large rectangular shape in the place that I wanted it to be, right behind the old pond. So that was where I was going to be. It was going to be 5 foot wide, it was going to be 5 foot deep, it was going to be about 12 foot long. Now what I didn't take into consideration was the width of the brick and the insulation and the fiberglassing. So my pond, instead of it being 5 foot wide, it's now 4.5 foot wide because of the width of the insulation and the thickness of the fiberglass, and also how the bricks were laid. So I kind of lost 6 inches of width in my pond. And same with depth. This pond should have been 5 foot deep, but it's now 4.5 foot deep because I lost 6 inches getting too much of the concrete delivered. Now when the concrete wagon arrived and started putting the pipes from the wagon into what was the bottom of the pond and started filling it up with concrete, we didn't realise that they put a little bit extra in there just in case. Apparently the company I use always sort of overestimates. They don't go exactly with what you need. So I asked for a 6-inch base and got 9 inches worth of concrete. Now we had a massive problem on our hands because you can't just move sloppy concrete around. It's like liquid, obviously. It just floats to its natural level. So my builder, Sean, bless him, cracking bloke, he managed to move things around a little bit and shape the concrete so I had a nice little dish. We didn't lose the bottom drain. We were having to shovel buckets and buckets of concrete out that we didn't need. Well, when we said to the guy, okay, well, that'll do, he said, no, mate, whatever's in this wagon is all yours. And away it came. So always just double check on how much your concrete base you're putting in and how much is going to be delivered. Power around the pond. This is, again, you put loads of thought into these things. It's only when you finished it that you actually realise what you could have done better that you didn't do the first time round. So power around the pond. Since I put my pond in, there's been loads of electrical stuff that I've wanted to put in and around the pond. For example, some lighting at either end. I had some LED lights that were fitted around the side of the pond that looked like this. The seating area where I'm actually stood right now, I needed lighting around that. So there was lots of things, additional skimmers and additional bits and pieces that you kind of think, oh, put that around the pond. Oh, I've got no power. So where'd you find the power from? So you have to start trailing cables around and plugging things into me garage on a semi-permanent basis, which isn't a good thing because you've got to have all your electronically trip switches on there. You've got to make sure it's nice and safe, doesn't electrocute your fish if something goes wrong with it. So I think if I was doing it again, I would give the pond itself some external plug sockets so that I can plug additional things in and not have to worry about leading cables all the way from the garage all the way around the pond and around the back and into wherever I need to plug things in. So any products I've mentioned in today's video, you can have a look at the links. I'll provide the links down the bottom there onto the Amazon. I have affiliated accounts on there now, so that should help towards developing the channel. So if you want to know exactly how I did build my pond, you need to click on this link here and it'll take you to the video of exactly how I built my pond. Some of the ins and outs and the backs and forwards and ups and downs of building a koi pond in your own back garden. Or also you can click on this link here, which will show you how I went on using my skimmer and some of the issues I had with it. Thanks very much for watching. You've been watching Koi Pond Lifestyle. Subscribe, share, like, tell your friends.